Hey, everybody. Take a deep breath. Breathe in where we're at and all the new energies that are shining. Today, I had a beautiful opportunity with my friend Peggy to explore what we call darkness. A lot of us as light workers and people that have been doing inner work for a while, we have awareness of darkness and with light. A lot of us as light workers identify ourselves with positive love and light, feeling joyful, good, treating people well, etc. And then we've had these things that we call darkness that happened in our life. Hello, Jen, thanks, waves. We've had these things that we've labeled darkness that can be evil, bad, it's judgment, this thing that happened was bad or dark, or there's dark entities in my life and my world. And what I got to do in speaking with her was to look underneath. And I want people to understand or be aware that without light, there couldn't be darkness, and without light, there would be only darkness. So we're speaking of two contrasting levels of amounts of light. Now, a lot of people look into the darkness and they see the lack of form, and in a lot of ways we've been taught to fear it. It's like, I can't see in there, I can't see what's there, it's in my shadow, there must be bad or the possibility of bad, because when we're afraid, a lot of times we'll close our eyes or we'll stop breathing so much and hold tension in our body. And we get this density, we get this heaviness, we get this fear, we get this contraction, which makes us close our eyes, which makes our body receive less light to send out less light. And it's kind of conjectured with something bad. And where along the way we judged darkness as bad, there's a whole bunch of different ways. It's religion, it's what our parents taught us. Maybe we had bad situations in the dark, or we got scared in the dark, or big noise came. There's a ton of things that are in there. But I'm going to conjecture that, and we're going to explore this a little bit, but evil or bad intention hides in the dark because it doesn't want to be seen by the light, because it would make it start to awaken. It would make it start to see its awareness. So the fact that evil and density hides in the dark, does it make dark bad? When half our day is dark, half our day is light, on average. I know the world goes by cycles, but the dark and the light is the yin and the yang, the balance, the shift, and the awareness that not everything can be completely seen, that everything and its intention can be completely seen, is with our dark. But could we know good or bad if there was no bad? Could we know dark or light if there's no dark or light? Could we know if something that's happening in our life is good or bad or favorable or negative without contrast? And that's the critical thing with dark and light. It's all about balance. It's all about knowing the darkest dark to know the lightest light. It's not that we have to sit in the darkest dark or be evil or anything that sits in the dark, but the dark is there for a purpose. It helps us sleep. It gives a rest to our plants and other things in the world. It also has the ability to give us experiences that are very dense, scary, full of emotions that might contract us. It might force us to go inside and curl up. What is things like the virus that's going on in the world? It's contracting. There's control. There's pressure being put on us, so we go inwards and start to find ourselves. So these dark things, how could we know freedom if we didn't know the fullness of control? How could we know this is a loving experience if we didn't have a bad experience that wasn't loving? There's a reason for dark. And a lot of times we judge it as bad, but it's also framed by our trauma, our self-judgment, our other things. I'm going to conjecture after you tunnel down and look at your worst relationship experience, your last breakup, your divorce, your other things, there were energies underneath that came before even that interaction that made us judge what our partner did as bad. Maybe it was our mom and our dad or a previous partner or something that created what that other person was doing was bad. But in the end, that thing was choosing and pushing you towards making a choice for yourself, setting a new boundary, setting a confidence of what I deserve and what I don't deserve, but yet we decide those things are bad. That very thing refined us, tempered our steel, burned us in fire, made us feel small, made us feel dense so that we could eventually choose better. So are those things really dark? I have always conjectured that the darkest dark is the lightest light. And some people think I'm crazy for that. But without those things that hurt you or stung or made you look at yourself and eventually decide better are the very things that formed and shaped you and were decided by you. Some people may not like this. We design our experience before we come so we get on a path and we can learn a lesson. And sometimes these things that we decide are dark, I will conjecture are the most love that you could receive. Breaking up with a partner that things aren't working out with, is that love for yourself? It hurts like hell and it feels like you're smashing your heart wide open. You're forcing that person to step away for time so that you can find yourself and that maybe they can find themselves. They can do the work on this thing that's going on underneath and shine light on it. A lot of what we call darkness is actually a level of love that can't be seen for its form because it hurts. And I'm going to tell you, darkness sometimes has a beautiful, pure place that gives us a frame of reference to make a new choice. So is dark really as bad as we think if we start to deal underneath and all the trauma and all the pain and all the emotions that we haven't dealt with is actually being judged as dark? So we're actually judging a part of ourselves as dark and blaming it on the darkness. But without the darkness does not come the balance. Without that darkness, the bad, so you can frame it and say, this is way better, how do you know how to make a choice? If you're in a place of love and light and everything was just glowing and everybody was bubbling and smiley and nothing dark or bad judged ever happened, could we know what's better? Could we know what we really want? Could we know what light truly is, what a better choice is? That's the purpose of darkness. There's parts of darkness that have gone to their fullest extent and they want to control and they want to squash and but they all have a purpose. They're not there to destroy us because they would have destroyed us by now over and over and over again. But without that balance, the really dark, evil parts need to feed off of people that are light. But the darkness isn't that. The darkness is the contrast. Hiding in the dark is a bunch of stuff that is the creation of man. If you let your despair, your unhappiness, your frustration, your fear eat you alive, guess what? There's malevolence and there's other things that can live in darkness, but darkness is not just that. Darkness is a part of light, is a part of everything. And without it, to subjugate our darkness, put it in cage, say it's bad, that fact that I get angry, the fact that I have fear, the fact that I am frustrated sometimes is the very thing that sometimes our power hides in. Sometimes we need to know our full darkness. If we're too nice and we don't want to get angry or don't want to enforce a boundary, we lose. But if all of a sudden we can say, no friggin' way, this isn't going to happen again, you're not going to speak to me like that again, and shine some fire in your eyes, they're going to shut down and they're going to stop. That's you protecting you. That's your warrior. That's these parts of you that sometimes we judge as bad, but they're not. We're all part of God. We're all part of the universe. We're all part of light and dark. Every single thing that's happened is part of God. Do you think God just separates out the parts that don't look too shiny and fun and say, oh, that's the dark part of the world? No, God has created all of that. We have created that as us, as gods in our own world to help and temper and refine us. And from my experience, everything that I once showed as dark or believed as dark, I now see incredibly beautiful light in it. I also see when I shine light into people, sometimes people hate me. Sometimes people are angry at me and they just want to make me the object of their projection. Because I'm shining the light, the darkness inside does not want to change. It doesn't want to judge itself and say that it couldn't be better. So it's easier to shut down everything around it that shines light. Is that darkness? No. That's sometimes I'm accepting that people might be angry at me, and sometimes it doesn't all work out as love and light for their highest good, for my highest good. If I bowed down and pleased and all this kind of stuff, did not tell them the truth about what they were saying or how I felt, it aids no one to sit. That's a lie. That's falsehood. It's literally us being in the dark by trying to please other people. What I'm hoping to show is that there's a beautiful balance inside. We're light and dark. Some people may judge us as bad, but that's not bad. Speaking the truth and showing people what you're really seeing, is that bad? No, it just makes them feel uncomfortable. Is that dark? Is that evil? Is that whatever? No, it makes them uncomfortable. And I will guarantee people that you can be truthful with and they can trust you to be telling the truth, they will surround you. They will stay in your life. They may be angry the first little while, but after a while, they're going to come to you every time and know you're going to honor the truth and acceptance. And that may feel dark to people that aren't interested in that. But for the people that are awakening and really want a life forward, they will come every time because that's truth. That's integrity. That's honesty. So be aware, it's not all about love and light. There's things that'll happen that you may judge bad, that eventually you may see as love and light, but at the time are experienced as painful, full of emotion, angry, whatever. But that's the place of change. That's the place of catalyst. That's the place of alchemy within inside yourself when you're angry, frustrated, burning, all this kind of stuff because of the actions of another. You may call it dark and say, oh, that's a dark MFO or whatever. No, they're not. Sometimes those are the people that are shining the best light and are allowing us to temper ourselves by burning in that fire a little bit. Sometimes the teachers that are absolute assholes and you call our darkness are the people that will wake us the fuck up and ask us to choose ourselves. And I've experienced many, many of those. And it's not darkness. Afterwards, you're going to be so grateful and so thankful. But at the time, it was like, holy cow, what kind of asshole is this guy? And you want to just burn him to the ground? It may change. It influenced you to start to open up and start to change. So is that darkness in the end? I'm going to conjecture once you get to be aware of it, you're going to start to see there's a type of love. Yeah, he was standing up for himself, which made him look like an asshole to you, but ultimately, you both grew because you both had this experience. And without those judged negative experiences, I'm going to conjecture, look back at all the massive turning points in your life. Was there a little bit of darkness in them? Was there a bunch of people? Maybe it was a rapist. Maybe it was somebody that just beat the shit out of you. Maybe it was somebody that just bullied you at work or school. But in the end, that person who is living from their own wound, we haven't even got there yet, they had their own darkness. They were only being that because they had no other choice. Their family or somebody in their past forced them into that. But that darkness that lived in them, that pain, that wound, that whatever, was the catalyst for you to grow. Does that change how you look at darkness? And I ask you, separate the malevolence, the really, really dark shit, the people that are hurting people and being violent and painful and controlling the whole entire world. That's a little bit out of control, and that will all be cleaned up. But there's nothing bad about darkness. There's nothing bad about our darkness, of our power, of our anger, of our rage, as long as it's in control and we can sit in it and smile and say, fucking, I'm pissed, and have that burn show up. Am I a bad person? No, I'm in my full range of experience as a God being, of being able to be angry. I don't have to kill people. I don't have to frickin' be Christ consciousness all the time or whatever. I'm sitting here in this beautiful place of the center of a human being, which embodies both. So hopefully this gives a new perspective on darkness. Without it, we would have no contrast. We would make no choices. So is it bad? And then all of a sudden, when you think it's not bad, then all of a sudden that part of you that you've judged as dark or bad, is it bad? Is it have to be in the cage anymore? Make friends with it. Say, hi. Fuck, I was scared of you for so long. Guess what? The next time you run into something that's darkness and you're in charge of your darkness, that darkness will respect you. It will not take advantage of you. It will say, holy fuck, who is this? That's the range of being a human being, to embody all of that. And we have the choice. We can be into malevolence and evil and all this kind of stuff, but you don't need it. You don't want any part of it. It's when you're maladjusted in your light and your dark and you feel wounded and you feel hurt and you're in anger and frustration and all this kind of stuff is the place malevolence grows and evil. Being part of our dark has nothing to do with being evil. Anyways, hopefully this helps. This was huge for me when I saw that. And I hope it's huge for you. It's all love, just in different ways. Everybody trying to do their best, even though they're hurt and wounded and they're living from their wound and all that kind of stuff. That's sometimes the darkness we see. Just see them as an innocent child stuck in their darkness or their anger and give them love. Just speak comfortably and you'll be surprised. So hopefully this helps. I love you all. I enjoyed sharing it and send it out to anybody that it might help. Have a good night.